This is the day God has given us. We have to rejoice and praise Him for amazing morning here in the United States, Cambridge, Massachusetts, at Harvard University. Connecting to people we have promised you. Welcome, TJK. TJK shares. One-on-one with TJK. We are honored and blessed to have my sister today. My sister who's done so much work in so many different fields that we'll talk about today, who has balanced so many different careers, but also continue to inspire many people. Our promise on this channel is to bring you transformational people doing transformational work. Welcome and thank you for joining us, Jackie. Please, I don't even know where to start with you. There's so much we need to cover, but we'll cover it in the shortest time we can. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and a brief background on who you are. Welcome.
Thank you, Jackson. It is truly my honor to be here with you today. As we say in Uganda, so I'm truly honored, Jackson. And I'm a PK, first thing. That's how we identify here in Uganda. My father is a preacher of the Anglican Church. He served the church many, many years and retired about 12, 15 years ago. And I'm firstborn of 5 children. So I always carry that firstborn hat and firstborn syndrome. Get into the conversation. Are you born a leader? Are you made a leader? Maybe a bit of both. I love fun and adventure. I am truly a nature girl. I love trees. Trees give me such peace and calming. And so my favorite spots in the world are where I can combine trees and water. And I like to go to them often because I think stillness and meditation are a very big part of who I am, are a very big part of enabling me bring my best when I have to bring it. I love travel. Oh my goodness, there's an auntie of mine who calls me Vasco da Gama because she's never in one place. So I said, it's okay, I will embrace that name. I am Vasco da Gama. Another friend of mine calls me Tom Sawyer. She says I'm such an adventurist. So interesting names to have. Vasco da Gama, Tom Sawyer. Yeah, and I like lightness. I like joy. I like bringing smiles to people. I am such a nurturer. I'm an empath. I think and do from my place of feeling.
Yes.
And that's what drives me. I know that there are these dichotomies, there are head people, there are heart people, and we need all these people because we are not created the same. And each of those things brings strength. Each of those has weaknesses. That is fine. We embrace them and learn and grow. But yeah, in a nutshell, really, that's who I am: an adventurer, a lifeist, a travelist, a child of God, and a sojourner. Really, we're all traveling different journeys. So I am a traveler, and I'm learning to travel light.
Yes, you are a traveler, literally and figuratively.
Yes.
Because many years ago, was it 20 years ago? What? Maybe 22 years ago, we met because of all those travels you do. Among all those amazing things, being a firstborn in a family, being a child of a preacher, and your dad has written an amazing book everyone should read. We'll need to at least highlight it at some point there. You are one of 5. Every one of your siblings have done so much work in this world. So your parents really have done tremendous work to raise superstars, 5 like us. But I don't know, you studied law. Why did you choose law?
So I chose law primarily because justice is very near and dear to my heart. I didn't have the language for it then. How it was expressed in my life growing up was that I always had a heart for the underdog. Yeah. I always had a heart for those that were left out, for those that were belittled, for those that were shut up. And I said, no, I'll give my life to being a voice, to standing with, to standing for those whom life has squeezed, either because of our own prejudices, our own misunderstanding of who and how people are. So that's really why I went into law. In fact, I actually went into law wanting to be a child's lawyer because I thought all the people in the world, children, as you know, unfortunately, they say they are to be seen and not heard. And so you can imagine how much children take on and take in because of stereotypes like that. And so, hearing your neighbor beat their child almost to death, and you're like, I'm sitting in that child's space thinking, I think they wish someone could speak out for them. And
Yes.
so I truly wanted to do that kind of thing. Or seeing poor people on the road and how they're shunted about, and you're thinking, no, I need to. So that's what I wanted to use my law degree for. In fact, when I started law school, in first year, I attended a conference where the then chairperson of FIDA Uganda, which is the Uganda Association of Women Lawyers,
Yes.
came to speak to us about what FIDA does, and literally my heart connected with their mission of being lawyers for the indigent, for the poor, for those who could not afford lawyers and yet really had legal struggles. So that's why I became a lawyer. I had that sense of justice was instilled in me from my parents, watching what they did, watching them speak out, speak to power, even within
Yes.
the church space. I then knew it was my responsibility to speak out, to use whatever gifting, whatever voice I was given through my training as a lawyer to support community.
What? Oh, wow. So you were inspired by FIDA, the first conference, and those of you who are listening internationally, FIDA provided free legal services, mostly to women, but really to children, to women who didn't have representation at all. And in a patriarchal society like ours, and for those of us who grew up in villages, you grew up in Kampala, a little bit different. The patriarchal still today is there, and women still don't have representation. So, Jackie, thank you for standing up for the underdog. Thank you for the role you did with FIDA and the role you continue to do today, because women are still coming from behind. They are still not reporting crimes, and FIDA continues to this day to do that work on the ground. In addition to studying law, many people study and finish and put their books aside and, I'm done. They read court cases when they are going to court. You have been a huge inspiration for me, side by side, reading books left and right. Fiction, non-fiction. You, what I would call an avid reader. I'm not sure I can even describe how many books you read. Where do you get time to read these books, and what do they do for you? Let's recruit some readers here.
Let's recruit some readers. I know, right? No, books are my place of escape, my place of wind down. When we were growing up, my parents made a choice not to buy a television, and that was one way to enable us read. So when we were not reading, we were playing outside. Those were the days. No gadgets. I feel sad for today's children. So if we were not playing outside, and playing outside enables creative minds. That's the thing we forget. So playing outside, we were reading, and I did my first reading competition actually when I was a primary school girl in Canada. Our school was through Philanthropist supporting multiple sclerosis. Have I said it right? MS treatment. And so the challenge then was for us to read 10 books, and for each book you read to go around and collect money as part of the reading. And so from an early age, we were taught how to read.
Yes.
And I have continued it. And I do understand people struggle with time, people struggle with seasons. You can think of a young mother or a young man who has to, he's a night guard all his time, and then in the day he's asleep. I do understand there are those kinds of challenges, but I think it's carving out time and truly being intentional. And one of the things I go to bed full of gratitude for every day, Jackson, is not just the ability to read, but even the ability to buy a book, which we know for many people across the world, when you have to make a choice between food and a book, you know the choice people make. So the fact that you and I and many others who are able to hold a book, buy a book, read a book, literacy is still, we can't take it for granted. There's still many thousands of people across this world that can't read. And so not only do I read books, I've committed for the last 3, 4 years, I clear out my library. I
Yeah.
give books to, I gave one time a book to my old school guy as a high school. Last year, through a friend, I gave my books to an African library that is setting up. So also, to the extent that we can, understanding that people are struggling to buy books, if
Yes.
I can, I give it away. So that's also part of my conduits out. But yeah, books are really the thing that feeds my soul. And for leaders to thrive, for any of us to thrive, you need to look into that thing that feeds your soul. And books for me are one of those things. And you go places, you travel miles,
Yes.
you think
Yes.
new thoughts, you literally think new thoughts when you read. And so it truly is a life-changing experience.
Somebody said to me once, and for you, you grew up around reading, and I applaud your parents once again. They chose not to buy TV. Here I was in the village crying if I could have a TV, and your dad, Pastor Mugarura, thank you. Your dad is deciding, I'm not buying a TV, you need to read and pray outside. Young parents, all of you who are raising children, that is something to make a note of. Now it is even more difficult with gadgets and computers and games that kids just sit down with a phone and not read. Somebody said to me once and said, reading a book is like traveling. Those people who don't read get stuck on the cover. You are in one place spinning every day, while Jackie is in Dubai in her book. Next day, she's in Alabama. You get to travel places. The books will take you places that you've never been. I've decided to take off my jacket because reading.
Yes.
As a writer, but you have not only read, you've written, you've led an organization that is writing books. I want to jump into the leadership. As leaders, we also to read and read every day. You are very passionate about leadership. Tell us about your journey of leadership from that law school at Makerere University to Washington to all these accolades in law, but you've chosen leadership role.
So as John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. And I think the older I grow, truly the more I appreciate that statement. But going back to where I began, I think partly when you are a firstborn in an African home, at least, I don't know that there's a way that you can escape leading because literally you're a co-parent, you are a
Yep.
There's a friend of mine right now who says she feels like she's carrying the clan because you're a decision maker. You're brought in early to help manage the home. And especially if you lose a key breadwinner, like father, mother at an early age, you even have to step up even more. So
Yes.
already I think just being given the platform of being a firstborn and having to help co-manage with my parents to the extent that I could. But I also watched my parents especially focus on raising young leaders in the church. My father was very passionate about teaching because he said just because you have the title leader doesn't mean you know how to lead. And so for me, leadership is a lifelong. To this day, my father, even though he has stopped formally leading, is still reading. Why? Because like you said, a leader does not read, you're doomed.
Yes.
Not only are you yourself doomed, whatever you're leading is doomed. So I watched my parents really commit their life to growing leaders.
Yes.
I went to Gayaza High School where we were encouraged day in and day out to be leaders. And so, yes, I led in the prefect cohort in my year, was able to lead Kennedy House, and we won the cleanliness the whole time that I was a leader. But yeah, these little steps, and again, when we say in our proverbs that you bend a tree when it's young, it's availing young people, young students, opportunities to lead when they are young, and how you mold them to grow into the leaders that they will become when they are older, I think is very important. So hands up to people like Nyaka and others who are consciously raising leaders from when they are young. Then, of course, when you go into the workplace, you learn your place again, you start at the bottom, but to the extent that you are mentored, to the extent that people walk a journey with you, that's how I am the leader I am today. That I had women, and in our years, it was not formal, It was not as formal now, where there are actually mentorship programs and coaching programs. In our years, it was sort of if you had someone who graciously looked at you and said, I will pour into your life, you were lucky. And so I clung on to those kinds of people who wanted to show me the way, who wanted to open a door, who corrected me.
Yes.
You know, all those are part of what forms who we are as leaders. And I truly, truly, it's all of that, I think, that has enabled me have a heart for leaders, knowing I myself have challenges. And so I know that another CEO, another fellow leader is also struggling. So how do we not struggle each in our corner? How do we collectivize the struggle, learn together, grow together to become better leaders? Because when the leader gets better, the organization gets better. Whatever you're leading gets better.
That's very true. And you and I have our book in the background about leadership. That one day will come out.
You reminded me in public.
We were supposed to do it before we turned 50. Now here we are getting closer to more years. No, we got to, yeah. We will get it done. Don't worry. As we
will.
You said something earlier that I want to reemphasize, which at the books you read, you also give them away to others to read. And I took that, I even wrote it down because I read so many books. I've written 7 books, and I have books in Uganda, I have books in Michigan, I have books here in my room at Harvard. I'm going to make it public that I will start giving those books away, because after I read them, definitely there are some that are signed to me, autographed, that my children will want to see one time. But we are privileged, and the privilege of being able to buy a book. Books are expensive, like you said. We have a Nyaka library in the villages of Uganda, but I think we need a space in Kampala also, where we can put books, and our reading groups, which we are part of, can actually go have a repository, get a book, put it back, somebody else can. So this, I'm going to take on that challenge. We have other challenges. We are in it together, working every day, running and doing many things, but we have limited time, so we are going to continue and talk a little bit about balance, family and balance. You have raised 2 terrific, outstanding young men, of which I had the pleasure to know as they were born. I've continued to watch them grow. Please spare some time and talk to young parents right now, men and women. How do you go about that balance of raising children while also continuing to lead and continuing to work full time and provide? Just quick advice. Now you are in your heart of advising people. How you've done it, because it is done differently for different people. Hillary Clinton did it differently. I have done it differently. Just a quick advice on how you as a person have balanced that equation.
So Jackson, apparently the term these days is no longer balance, because I think people chased this thing that seemed unattainable. Now the word used is life-work integration.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new term, life-work integration. Take it off.
And the way I explain that, because balance assumes that they and it will never be, right?
Yes.
If you think of a scale and balancing the scale. And part of the reason it will never be, Jackson, is that life is made of seasons.
Yes.
I'm 53-year-old with adult children living on my own. Of course, I have all the time to myself in the world. And if I speak, like you said, to a young parent who is grappling with a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a toddler, and an infant, right? That will that be for them? So I think it's understanding that life comes in seasons. So what does balance or integration look like for you in this season? It will be very different in 5 months to come, in 5 years to come. So I feel like we should stop pressurizing people to balance. I think sometimes that word even comes with judgment. If you're all over the place, see, you're not even balanced, right? And you add judgment and guilt and shame over a thing people are struggling with. So I think it's the grace to know that life is seasons. There's a season of Jackson as a young father, or a season of Jackson as a bachelor before he became a young father. There's a season of Jackson, a young father who is also starting a young organization. Like your what you're balancing at any one time or trying to integrate is so unique to you that even when we are the same age, we are balanced, we have different things we're trying to integrate. So think more of it of what works for me in this season. What should I add? What should I drop for me?
Yes.
And that's boundaries. That speaks to, as Oprah says, no is a full sentence. So know when to use your full sentence and say, in this season, in order to integrate, no.
I
So
like
it's
it.
finding your yeses and your nos in order to integrate your life as best suits you in the season that you're in.
We will have to do another one. It's another segment of 30 minutes because we can spend the whole time on this integration and seasons. And you, for a minute, put on your uh, leading and teaching hat. Because if we could all have compassion for each other and understand that we are dealing with seasons, we would know that if Jack is not responding to my WhatsApps for a month, instead of saying, "What did I do to Jackie that she can't respond?" we would know she must be in a different season right now. Maybe the flowers are blooming and she's busy. The bees are busy taking the pollen. I like it. I like it. Another one will come soon. You shifted from law full time, leadership full time, and you have now spent a lot of time on philanthropy.
Yes.
Philanthropy, another topic we can talk about, touch a little bit why you went into that direction. And if I use the wrong word, please do tell me. But philanthropy in our culture, philanthropy within our context is something you focused on with civil source. Why?
Yes.
Why is that important to you?
Because Jackson, you know that especially in Africa,
Yes.
we would not be where we are if it wasn't for the generosity of people in our lives.
That's true.
One, philanthropy is the love of humanity. It was never about how many zeros you have in your bank,
Yes.
but somehow we made it and focused on money. But if we go back to the original Greek meaning, which is love for humanity,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
we know this is expressed all day, every day in our African lives. And there is never a permanent giver, there is never a permanent receiver. It is cyclical. Again, the philanthropy that is often lauded and practiced is one person pushing out. And yet it is you and me in the circle of life. One day I'm receiving, another day I'm giving. Because
That's
then that balances out power, that balances out community. And for me, my passion in the philanthropy space is also to speak about and shine a light on African ways of doing generosity.
that's
And I know often my Western counterparts are, is that really philanthropy? Like, who said yours is the one? And in
exactly.
fact, when you say that law, part of it was, in fact, I used what I learned from the law to apply to what I'm doing now in philanthropy. In the law, we learned that there's a hierarchy of law. And when we were colonized, our customary law that was defined and describing our everyday way of life was
Yes.
relegated to the bottom.
Ah.
And received or English law was put on top. Statutory law, written law, customary law was relegated to the bottom. In fact, if you go to courts of law today, you first plead, and that's why we go to school to do law. Your first plea as a lawyer is written law. Customary law is least and last. That's the one you really reach for when, and that is sad. And so when you come to the philanthropy world, what is celebrated? What is white? What is right? And you're like, no, 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 no. Please remember that there are ways that are unique. They might not be as big, as grand. It doesn't matter. We're not even competing about who gives more. We are saying in Africa, this is what giving looks like. And it has a place and a seat at the table, just like giving anywhere else around the world. And so it is to tell the stories, it is to highlight how generosity happens, and also to enable people see themselves so that it's not only for the haves. All of us have something to give. All of us have received. All of us have given. Whether it is a smile, word of encouragement, a packet of salt, building a school in our community, enabling my community to access the well. All those are, and we say that philanthropy is time, treasure, talent. So that people don't only look at the money side, but there's talent and there's time. There are many, many people giving their time free to enable
Yes.
others and to grow. People are opening doors to enable organize, like it is. So my what I'm trying to do in and with philanthropy, especially on our continent, is say we give and the ways we give are valid, and this is what it looks like.
Wow. Time, treasure, and talent. Our communities have given for so many years, like you said, generations of giving. When I look at the people in a diaspora and how much they give, and it is not defined as giving, the love for humanity is something we are born with. And you told the law here and how customary law goes down there. I'm giving a speech on May 3rd on communities, how to build communities around giving. And the Ubuntu, our traditional grandmothers giving you lunch every day. You're going to school. They are not paying tuition. But you know that when you pass on Mariza's compound, you're going to get lunch and you can go back to school. That's philanthropy. That's as good as building a building. You are up to something, Jackie. I know time is running out here. I'm going to ask you two more quick questions. One of them, you have lived this life of fullness. Life continues to get you smile. What's your life mantra? What do you go by every day that pushes you through? I know right now, after this, you are driving to Mbarara. Yes. You're going to be smiling all the way. People who meet you, Jackie, it's like you exude happiness and love and compassion to others. What do you live by? It's that mantra.
It's a statement that I actually borrowed from a book that I read from John C. Maxwell, a leadership guru. Yes. And this is my life mantra. No one cares what you know until they know that you care.
I'm writing it down. No one, and I've read the book. Nobody cares what you know until
they know that you care. So all our degrees, all our knowledge, all our head, it's care. Care for me is at the and our common friend Kecho keeps talking about kindness. Kindness, it takes nothing from you.
Yes. Ketchumuli will be here soon. Yeah, we'll get Ketchumuli. No one cares what you know until they know that you care. And we show that through our actions on everyday basis. My friend, my mentor, my co-reader, my co-writer, what advice would you give to yourself at a young age, 18 to 21? Let's roll those wheels back. And our son around that age. So whenever I ask this question, I say, Nicholas is going to watch this, or I will give it to him. What advice would you have given yourself?
Life is moments, not things.
Life is moment, not things.
Moments, not things.
Not things.
Yeah. Well, and so pay attention, therefore, to life. I remember one time we were traveling, Peter and I and the boys. I think we were taking them to somewhere in Western Uganda. And again, kids of these days. So you're driving and they're on the... Peter said, you people, put down your phones. You're missing. Open your eyes. Look around you. Because while you're here, life is passing by. So... and you've seen the pictures that I sometimes post on my walks. It's that little flower. It's the way the raindrop is about to drop. It's just people, don't let life pass you by. And there's so much life in a 24-hour span. We often think about life in chunks of years, but
Yes.
every moment is full of life. So, yeah, moments, not things, moments, and don't let life pass you by because you're looking down. Look up.
Moments, not things. And when time comes, because many of us are in denial that time will not come, and we are not here anymore,
Yeah.
what would you like people? How?
There lies a woman who cared.
Realized a woman who cared. Jackie Asiimwe, leader, philanthropist, giver. Description of Ubuntu, mother, daughter, friend. We will share it and we'll get to share this with you. For all our viewers, we thank you so much for sparing time to watch. Please do share, do subscribe. And for all of us know that we, the leaders of today, especially I can say this for me and Jackie, we want to lead by creating more leaders. And this episode was done just for you with love and compassion. Thank you so much. May we enjoy nature. May we enjoy those small moments, and may we continue to give from our hearts, from us to you. Thank you.
Amina. Thank you so much, Jackson.